Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Cherries on Top podcast. I'm your host, Sad Rahman, and I'm delighted to say that today I'm joined by special guest and Bournemouth fan page creator, Greg. Greg, thank you for joining us today.
No worries, mate. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good. So can you tell us a little bit about your fan page, like what's it called and why you decided to start making the fan page?
It's called the AFB fan page. I think I started it on the very day of our first Premier League game when we lost to Aston Villa. I think I was just excited. I was overcome with what a bit of fun creating a fan page. I never thought that 7 years later I'd still be running it, but here we are and still going strong. So
Yeah, exactly. Going very strong. You've got over 10,000 followers. I've not remembered the exact figure, but if you could let us know, that would be great.
yeah. I think it's 3K at the moment. So yeah, pretty solid to be
Is that 14,000? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, speaking about Aston Villa, obviously Bournemouth got Aston Villa this opening weekend again. But just before we speak about that, let's get into last season and how you felt last season went. And do Bournemouth deserve to be in the Premier League at this moment in time?
Well, I think any team that gets promoted on merit. Really, if you're in the Premier League, I suppose you deserve to be there. I mean, you could talk about Nottingham Forest getting lucky with some VAR decisions in the player final against Huddersfield, but yeah, it's a long season, it's 46 games, and whoever has the most points, I guess, deserves to be there. I mean, it's a long old slog. You know, all teams are going to struggle at some points. We certainly did after that amazing start we had when we were 15 unbeaten, and then around that December, January period, it all started to feel like it was going to come crashing back down to earth, and maybe it was just going to be the playoffs. But we stuck through it. We made Nat Phillips and Kiefer Moore signing on deadline day ended up being two extremely important pieces of business. And I think if you look at our record against the best teams in that division, of the top six, the only game we lost was against Luton in the last kick of the game. It was undoubtedly our strong point was our record side.
Yeah.
I feel like we did really struggle against low block teams. You know, we didn't even score a goal against Hull or Peterborough last season, which is funny when you think about it. But I think we do deserve it. I think we were only 2 points off Fulham in the end, and everyone was raving about them all season. So I think in the end we did pretty well.
Exactly. And you mentioned the quick start, 15 unbeaten, but second half of the season it did slightly go off the rails a little bit, you could say. And obviously in that period, Scott Parker had some questions brought up about him. Do you fear that if things do start to go south in this upcoming season, that those murmurs could get louder and stronger?
I think it depends where we're at, really. If you like, I think the board back Parker. I think obviously they were wanting him for a really long time. Obviously, when we first got relegated, it was rumoured he was the manager we were going for, but obviously he just got promoted with Fulham, so that wasn't doable. And then again, when we sacked Tyndall, it looks like we went into Parker again. And so I say, as he's a long-term target, it would be, I guess, silly to sack him like in the Premier League. Are we, like, at the end of the day, relegation survival is all we want? And
of course, yeah,
it's going to be a long old season, so I wouldn't sack him personally.
Yeah.
If we're like looking at Derby's record of 11 points, then maybe you have to cut your losses, but I back Parker personally.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, many people I've seen anyways personally are expecting Bournemouth to have a bit of a shoddy season and not really be able to kick it with the big boys up in the top flight of English football. So how optimistic are you about this upcoming season? Do you genuinely think that Bournemouth can stay up?
I guess you never know, really. I mean, am I that optimistic? Not really. When I'm thinking I've got to go to Man City in a couple of weeks and watch us probably lose like 5-0. And also at this moment, it does feel quite bleak. I probably feel more optimistic now like now we've been linked to players like Neto probably joining and Senesi and Matt Phillips. Probably more optimistic now than if you asked me that question 2 days ago. But it's a long season. I suppose teams like Brentford might be in for a struggle this season. Like without Christian Eriksen, they might.
I've predicted Brentford to be going down.
Southampton and Leeds.
Elsewhere,
yeah. I definitely think Brentford. Yeah. I guess it depends how other teams get on as well, and it depends how we transition, and obviously what players we sign. Maybe it's more of a question to ask me on the 31st of August or the 1st of September once our transfer window is
done. Yeah. Speaking of transfer window, the last time Bournemouth came up, Eddie Howe actually trusted the majority of the squad that brought them to the top flight of English football. At the moment in time, there's only been a couple signings. There's murmurs of new signings coming about, but do you think Scott Parker can get away with trusting the squad that he's got at the moment to keep Bournemouth up?
I think the main difference, look at the starting 11, it's already a squad that has had a lot of money invested in it, like Solanke, Billing, Lloyd Kelly. Also you've got the likes of Travers, Anthony and Zamora, who are all homegrown from our under-18s and 21s. But I think it is a squad that's already, especially you see Nottingham Forest spending a lot of money, but they lost so many players and haven't really spent that much on the team that they had, whereas we've already done that. But I think we do have some Premier League talents, the likes of Kelly and Solanke and such. But it's obvious that we need to strengthen, because it's this season we've only got 3 centre-backs, one of which is Chris Mepham, who didn't seem to trust as a starter, and one of which is James Hill, who made a 2-minute cameo against Barnsley last season. So I think we do need to strengthen, but to a point, I think he can back some of them, especially the ones with Premier League experience.
And yeah, as you say, he's only got 3 centre-back options at the moment. Lost Nat Phillips and a few other loanees as well. Do you potentially think that Scott Parker's using this as a way to protect himself if results do go south? Because he obviously come out and said that he thinks his squad's weaker than it was in the Championship. And obviously going into the biggest and best league in the world, you've got to have a good side to compete. And he thinks that it's weaker than his Championship side. So do you buy into that, or do you think that's just the way of him protecting himself should stuff go the wrong way?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. I mean, we have to look at it as facts, really, that we have lost a lot. You do need a good squad, and we did lose a lot of squad players. But as you say, the only real actual starter we lost was Nat Phillips, and Gary Cahill was starting in the first half of the season. But I think he's kind of protecting himself, but at the end of the day, it's fact. We lost a lot of players and we've not replaced them. So it'll be a big few weeks, I guess, in the transfer window to see where we end up. But I think he can do it. I think Parkin can keep us up if he gets the backing,
Yeah, exactly. And only yesterday the news broke that Bournemouth potentially have 3 bids in for centre halves, as well as the ongoing discussions with Barcelona's Neto. In pre-season, Parker has been insistent of trying the 5-back system. It probably hasn't gone the way he wanted it to at this moment in time. What do you think about the back 5 system, and do you think he may need to revert to the usual 4 at the back like he did last season, or are you happy with him trying to play with 5 at the back and keep Bournemouth solid against some of the best attackers in the world?
Well, I think you've got to be realistic, as you say. We're playing against some of the best attackers in the world. I think you do have to be realistic and say you can't just sit in a back 4 because they're open on occasions. Even though we did have a good record against the good teams last season, like Fulham away, we were back against the wall with that 4 at the back for the whole game, really, and we just bailed out by Mark Travers and that amazing defending by Steve Cook. So I think if you look at that, you have to be realistic and say, if you want to, you have to have a really good defensive record, or solid enough defensive record. I think to do that, you have to do 5 at the back. But as you say, it hasn't been the most fun to watch in pre-season. Obviously, it's early days still. I felt like the wing backs were very ineffective in the pre-season friendlies. I feel like Hannah Smith and Jordan Zamora weren't really linking it as much as they were with the 4 at the back. But Parker has obviously spoken about his hesitancy to move to four at the back. So it looks like it's all guns blazing for the five, and we'll just have to hope that the boys can transition well with it and adapt to it well, and hopefully gel and make it look strong and move on the counter-attack. Looks like we're going to be a lot of counter-attacking football this season from us.
Yeah, of course. And someone to help the counter-attacking football is Tavernier, who's just recently joined from Middlesbrough. He looks like he's going to go into the left wing-back position as competition to Zamora, potentially even ahead of Zamora. How well do you think he's going to do? How well do you think he's going to adapt to for Premier League?
I think it's a very exciting signing, having him on a 5-year deal, especially with other clubs linked to him. There's a good chance of resale value, 10 million, 12 million with add-ons. It's not a huge fee. If he does really well in the Premier League, you get a nice bit of profit out of it. And so if he doesn't do so well, he's still got a bit of time to work with him. But Middlesbrough fans were absolutely raving about him. More as a midfielder, I would say. So I am surprised that we are signing him to play as a left wing back reportedly. But I do think, obviously, we definitely needed a left wing back because we have no cover for Jay-Z there. And obviously, Jay-Z's only had one professional football, really. I mean, Tavernier is 23 and already has over 150 league appearances. So despite his young age, he's very experienced. And I'd say the versatility he brings, it would probably turn out to be really key. And I think he could definitely be one to look out for this season, definitely. And
you touched upon resale value. Obviously, yesterday, again, Dom Solanke signed until 2026. Mark Travers also extended his contract. There's also a few other players with 1 year left on their deal. How nervous are you about getting them tied down, and how happy are you that Solanke and Travers have committed their long-term future to the club?
Well, with Solanke and Travers actually buzzing, absolutely unbelievable last season after a slightly shaky start, and everyone wanted Woodman in. I think we all knew, though, once Mark Travers was given a run of games, whether he was sent out on loan or when that was off, that he would grow, because obviously we'd all seen that potential with the Tottenham game, and when he saved all those penalties in the penalty shootout against Forest Green. Obviously last season the season before last wouldn't have gone how he expected when he got given the chance against Blackburn and let one spill through him, and then Asmir Begovic never looked back once he was given the shirt. But Travers, brilliant to have him. I do wonder what will happen with him with Neto coming in. Obviously, it's only good to have that good competition like Neto is key. And obviously Dom, unbelievable again. Very happy he's staying. I think I could say he might play for England again one day. Obviously, he got that one cap ages ago. I don't see why he couldn't. He's got the potential.
As a third England striker, you can see him getting in. There's obviously you've got Harry Kane and you've got Calvert-Lewin if he's fit, but the third striker spot is very, very up for grabs. So if he has a good Premier League season, obviously last time Bournemouth came up, Callum Wilson broke into the squad for the first time. So who says that Dom Solanke can't?
I definitely agree with that. The other players leaving, mate, I would have thought we'd see something on Jadon Anthony and Jordan Zamora by now. I guess the only good thing is if they leave because they're under 24, we'd still get a fee for them. But it's still something you want to wrap up. You don't want to lose two players like that for not much. And Jeff as well, 25. And obviously we've got a lot of use out of him. He may well have made that money back in appearances and getting us back up, maybe keeping us in the league this season. I can see why he's not signed a new deal, because obviously he signs a new long-term deal and then we get relegated. He probably doesn't want to spend another season in the Championship. But I'd say spending 25 million on a player and getting nothing for them, it's not
what you want, is it?
It happens sometimes in football. No.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously you touched upon Neto joining Bournemouth as well. Parker has a history of bringing in top quality goalkeepers despite getting promoted. So like at Fulham, he brought in Alfonso Areola. This time Neto, and you expect Neto coming from Barcelona, he'll be vying for his starting spot in the team as well. So what do you think will happen with the Travers situation? And do you think that would you play Neto ahead of Travers at the moment after such a good season, as you were saying as well?
Well, I think Travers, obviously Neto's not going to be here in time to play that Aston Villa game. So Travers at least has that game. Or he'll be busy, considering the lack of players we have at the moment. I'm sure he'll be busy in that game. He's definitely got a chance to stake his claim. I just can't imagine that Neto is coming from Barcelona on his. I know Barcelona, with all their troubles, would want him off the books as soon as possible. But
exactly.
He would have had other options.
Yeah,
I'm not sure he would have
better wages.
We're in the Premier League, but I'm not sure he would have wanted to come and sit on our bench behind a young keeper. So I'm sure both will be given an opportunity in the Premier League at some stage in the season, whatever happens, whether that's due to injury or suspension or whatever. But let's just see who impresses us the most.
And I guess Neto being the older one, more experienced keeper, Travers has got a lot of years ahead of him, so he can obviously learn from that as well. So it'll be a very good signing should Bournemouth get it over the line, as Fab has already said this morning.
Yeah.
Now on to the weekend and Aston Villa this Saturday. How excited are you for this match, and what do you expect this coming Saturday?
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? You know, depending, obviously, I can't imagine we'll have anyone over the line by Saturday to come in. So will we line up with that back five again, even though it didn't look convincing, or Will Parker potentially just for this game, just while we don't have the numbers for the back five to be truly effective? Will he just go back to the four? Although Villa do have a good team on paper. They've made some very, very shrewd additions. And they could go for two up top if they wanted with Ings and Watkins. You can imagine that would cause some problems, or they've got a host. So it's going to be a very difficult game. Obviously, when you're at home, you never know, get the crowd behind you. Hopefully the fans will stick with the team. Obviously, at Dean Court last year, it got a bit toxic at times when it wasn't quite going our way. So you have to hope the fans can rally behind the players, whatever happens. I guess we'll see. Depending on what team lines up, I'd probably go for the four at the back, personally.
Yeah. So, as you're saying there, four at the back, I was literally going to ask you as the next question, what would be your ideal starting lineup for this coming Saturday?
Yeah, I think just because we don't currently have the players, unless he wanted to put Jeff at centre-back again, well, I wouldn't personally do that because that takes away what he offers us from the midfield. So personally, I'd go with the same 11 that got us here, really. Also with Chris Mepham starting ahead of where Nat Phillips and Gary Cahill were. So that would be Travers, Smith, Mepham, Kelly, Zamora, Lewis Cook, Jeff, Philip Billing, Jane Anthony, Ryan Christie, and Dom Solanke. That would be my personal 11, but it'd be very interesting to see what he does.
I would go with something very, very similar to you, I must say. But speaking of starting lineups, it's now game time. I know we spoke briefly ahead of this podcast and I told you a little bit of what to expect, but I had to keep this slightly under wraps just so I could keep the element of surprise. So now, as I'm sure all the listeners are aware, the last time Bournemouth came up in 2015, they played Aston Villa on the opening day and lost 1-0 thanks to a Rudy Justed goal in the 72nd minute. Heartbreaking goal. Bournemouth dominated the game. But my question to you is, how many of the starting lineup from both teams can you name? You've got 3 lives, so be very, very careful.
I think I can bang out the Bournemouth 11. The Aston Villa 11, I've no idea. The Bournemouth 11, I can tell you, Boruc, Francis, Cook, Elphick, Daniels, Sermon, Gosling, Ritchie, Pugh, King, and Wilson.
Banged it, 11 out of 11. And as for now, the tougher part, the Aston Villa starting lineup.
Who was their goalie? Was it Guzan?
It was Guzan.
Right back, Micah Richards.
Micah Richards was starting. He was a centre back, so I'll give you that. Yeah.
Okay. Was Jordan Ayew playing for them then?
Jordan Ayew was in the starting lineup. I'm very impressed by this. Still got all 3 lines intact.
Centre mid. Who would have been in centre mid? Oh, blimey. They've there some bloke called like Veretout or something? Jordan
Wow,
Veretout?
that is yeah. He was in the starting lineup.
Uh,
2,
blimey.
3, 4 of the
Um,
Aston Villa starting. That is very, very impressive. I was not expecting you to get so many.
I just remember that Veretout guy playing and then never doing anything again.
I'll give you a little clue with one of them. Talk Sport.
Yeah. Talk Sport. Not Gabby Agbonlahor, surely.
He was still kicking it back in
No,
2015. Starting striker.
My word. Oh wow. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Unbelievable.
I can't think of anyone else really. Who else there? Run me through their team. Who else was there?
Is that your brain absolutely emptied?
Aston Villa.
So the starting lineup, as you got Brad Guzan, left back Jordan Amavi, centre backs Kieran Clark and Micah Richards, and right back Leandro Bacuna.
Oh wow!
In a midfield three, they had Ashley Westwood, Idrissa Gana-Gueye, and Veretout. And then
I should have got Gana-Gueye.
Then the front three, as you got Jordan Ayew, Gabby Agbonlahor, and Scott Sinclair. Throwback name.
Sinclair.
Wow. Throwback name.
Wow.
Yeah, so you did extremely well there, to be fair. I think you got 16 or 15 out of 22. That is unbelievable work. Unbelievable work from you, Greg.
Thank you.
And now finally, before we go, a few quick fire questions for you. So could you let me know your favourite Bournemouth Premier League match?
I think it's hard not to say that Liverpool one. Just so many amazing memories from that. Yeah.
The 4-3 Nathan Ake last second winner. Unbelievable memories. What about your favourite Premier League goal? For Bournemouth, obviously.
That Matt Ritchie
versus Sunderland.
Chest volley. Perfection.
Unbelievable strike. Obviously, you've got other contenders like Charlie Daniels on the edge of the box against Man City. But that Matt Ritchie goal technique was unbelievable. With the highs come the lows as well. So what was your lowest Premier League moment?
Relegation, but we won now. I think the worst away day I remember doing was the season we got relegated and we lost 4-0 to West Ham. And it was just so gloomy. It just
after
felt
Christmas.
So awful. Yeah, it was
in that bright green kit.
Painful. Awful day. Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, that was when relegation really doomed life, wasn't it? That was the first game where people were like, Bournemouth are in trouble here.
Definitely.
It was a tough moment to take that. Who would be your player to watch this season from Bournemouth?
I think as we said, Tavernier earlier. I think Lloyd Kelly as well. I think Lloyd Kelly will probably be up. I genuinely think in the next year or so, if he keeps up that form that he has shown the potential to show, I think he could get an England call up as a left-footed centre back in the back three. I think he fits the criteria Gareth Southgate is looking for because we're definitely lacking in that area for England. So I genuinely believe that Lloyd Kelly could get an England call up if he plays well this season.
Do you know who my player to watch this season would be? I'd say Lewis Cook. I feel like he goes very, very under the radar. He is an unbelievably gifted technical central midfielder. And
I just back you on that.
I just think people were, obviously after his 2 long-term injuries, people kind of forgot how good of a player he was. So I genuinely think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And a final question then, where do you think Bournemouth will finish this season?
At the moment, I was going to have to go with an unfortunate 18th or 19th.
You're right.
I'm not
realistic.
I'm going to say we could say if we stay up, it's going to be 16th or 17th.
Yeah. Speaking as a Bournemouth fan, 16th or 17th. But at the moment, with these signings not yet gone through.
I'd probably have to be realistic, unfortunately. But what's to say things won't change come 31st of August or 1st of September at the end of the transfer window when hopefully Bournemouth get a few more signings because there's things bubbling under the surface
over at the Vitality Stadium, and hopefully a few more players will come through the door and change that opinion of yours.
Hopefully so.
Perfect, Greg. Thank you so much for your time and joining me for the first episode of the Cherries on Top podcast. I'd just like to say that your fan page has been absolutely brilliant in the last few years, keeping the Bournemouth fans up to date. And yeah, just keep on going, keep up with the hard work, and I'm sure you'll get the rewards for that page as well. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you to everyone for listening. And that has been the very first episode of the Cherries on Top podcast. Come back next week for the next episode.